Welcome, everyone.
Okay.
We are here for February's Industry Connect. I can't believe we're closing out February. Oh my gosh. We have Valerie Thomas here with us today, and we met Valerie at the retreat at the CEO Plus retreat and just fell in love with her and just her business in general. And I feel, and I know Lacey feels that this is something that will benefit everyone. So if you're watching this live or if you're watching this on the replay and you have questions, please tag any one of the three of us below. If you want to go follow Valerie on Instagram, she's at Valerie Thomas Photography. Valerie, welcome. Can you just like
You.
about yourself
Yay.
before we
Yeah,
dive in?
I'm so excited. I know this turned around really quickly. We met in January and here I am in February
Yes.
to your group. So I'm super excited about this. I'm
Yes.
Valerie Thomas. I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I've been in business for about 15 years. I don't think my photography journey is that unique in that, I started in corporate America and then had kids and started a photography business. But what is unique is that the way I had a purpose for my business, and that purpose was creating a luxury photography business. So,
Yeah, Valerie, when we met in January and we had met, through the internet first, you were in our CEO group and CEO Plus group and we saw that you were coming to the retreat and I always do like a little stalking of everyone that I'm going to be at a retreat with because there's only, it's 16 people, so I want to know their body of work a little bit and get to know where they're from. And I made these little charm bracelets. So I did like I told everyone like I kind of halfway stalked them on their
yeah.
Instagrams and stuff to make sure the charm bracelets match their vibe a little bit. And what really struck me was how professional and luxury your business comes across. And then when we spoke, we happened to sit at the dinner table across from each other and you were explaining how you run your business. I was like, Vickie, we have to have her
Aw.
on the podcast, on a live. We need to chat with her because I think so many people can gain insight into the methodology of how you run your business.
Mhm.
So I know you said you started in corporate America.
Yes.
So did you bring a lot of that sensibility into your business when you started it?
Yes, I sure did. So, right out of college, I actually sold copier machines. This is going to date me. In Washington, D.C., and I cold called and I learned how to talk to people and approach them and just got over the fear of making connections and telling them what I did. And then from there, not even a year later, I got into pharmaceutical sales, did that for about 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And my husband and I were in the same industry and we couldn't both travel. So I decided that I was going to take a step back, not back, but just stay home with my kids and figure out what the next step was going to be. And my second love was taking pictures. So I started to work at that. Yeah.
Did you
Yeah,
have
I
classes at
love
the
that.
community college as well for photography?
I did when right after our wedding. So this is before
Oh,
kids. I was still working. I signed up for a class at community college and I got a Nikon D70. I was the only one in the class with a digital camera. Everybody else still had film. And we at that time we had planted some grass and I put the sprinkler in my yard and learned shutter speed. So, yep.
I
And
love that. I love that.
my kids, they just became my favorite subject. So just portraits and people.
Oh my gosh, that's great. That's a great idea. And I think anyone that's listening, that's such good insight. Whether or not you have children, if you don't have children, you can do this with if you want to learn settings, basic settings, you can use a teddy bear to start to
Mhm.
learn basic settings and lighting. And then when you want to start to shoot movement like you did, if you have friends that are willing to, or you can do a model call, something like that. But I think, anyone can start to practice photography
Mhm.
and learn those basic skills, like shutter speed and everything else by
Yes.
utilizing the people around you. And I love that. That's wonderful. I love that you put on the sprinkler and just had them. That's great.
Little
Um,
droplets. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's great. Um, So my next question for you is, you have kind of an interesting way of framing your business.
Mhm.
So do you want to walk me through and walk the listeners through how you decided to go this route and what exactly you do that differentiates yourself in a saturated market?
Okay, sure. So, this kind of goes back to when I was a kid and we took a bus to New York City. My mom took my sister and I there and we went shopping and we saw some Broadway shows and we went
Ooh.
into Tiffany and Company. And so I just thought back to that moment where, the air felt expensive.
Mm-hmm.
The jewelry cases were velvet lined. The presentation of the little box at the end, that just was my purpose. So it wasn't that I wanted to be the most expensive photographer in Pittsburgh, but I wanted to have my clients feel special. So,
Yes.
and with them feeling special, um, it gave that elevated experience. And also because I had this as a purpose, it gave me confidence like every step of the way. So, like I was telling you earlier this week, so I think the most important part is just keeping in touch with your current clients. So,
Mm-hmm.
your high school yearbook or your kid's high school yearbook or your neighbor's high school yearbook, whatever town you're in, meet somebody and borrow the yearbook. Reach out to the people that you know. So, I was photographing families at the time. I borrowed the neighbor's yearbook because my kids were really little. I was like, oh, Bobby is going to be a senior this year. I'm going to reach out to them and say, I'm doing senior pictures. But now it also comes in handy because I have so many clients that I'm like, okay, who's coming up this year? So at the end of every season, I grab the yearbook. Actually, I'm going to do a little show and tell today.
Yes, please.
So I grab my yearbook and I go through and I write down, it's always at my desk, my upcoming seniors. So
Oh
that,
yeah, that's wonderful. And for those of you that are on the podcast,
Mhm.
you will be able to, and listening, you will be able to go into the Senior Style Guide private group, request to join our group if you're not already on it, and watch this video so you can see the show and tell as well.
Okay.
I always like to reach out to the listeners at the same time as the video participants.
Okay.
Um, and right now we're doing things a little bit differently because we're on Zoom versus our usual platform. But I did just post in the Senior Style Guide group. I don't know if you saw me like looking down and trying to get all of that
Okay.
together. So if you are doing a re-listen or re-watch of this as we go through, please feel free to comment on the post and ask your questions, because I know Valerie is more than willing to answer any questions that come up as you're watching. And feel free to tag her or one of us, and we will get those questions answered for you.
Sure thing.
Yeah, so you go through the yearbook, you write it down.
Yep. Or go through my, old notebooks or Trello board, whatever I had, whatever I've been using, but mostly Trello
Mhm.
lately. And I capture all of those seniors that are upcoming. So actually, Friday's the day. Those current clients get my schedule first. So that is what I call the first wave. And they have the opportunity to pick the first dates
Okay.
available. And
Wow.
then after that, I call it the second wave. And those are clients that have never had a session with me, but have inquired about senior photos for the summer. So that that will happen probably next week, a week after
Okay.
first release. And then after that, it's just open. So, but I'd say between the first wave and the second wave, my schedule fills up pretty quickly.
Okay, wow. So what you're saying is you differentiate it by about a week,
Hmm.
and you release a certain amount of dates all at once. So
Hmm.
that way you know your entire schedule from October through May.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. See,
Yes.
that is a goal, right? I think a lot of people that are
Yeah.
listening right now are like, that is business goals, right?
Yes.
Um, there is you know, once you get to a certain level, you're used to booking 2 to 3 months out, sometimes 3 to 6 months out, which is great.
Hmm.
But what you're saying is you book out your entire year basically all at once within a few weeks time span. Now, I
Yes.
know obviously you probably have some rain dates in there and some
Correct.
potential things like that. But what happens when, my question, this is a little bit of a hardball question, but
Okay.
what happens if I am a current 2025 senior right now and I inquire with Valerie Thomas Photography?
Okay, so I would have dates in May because our high schools
Okay.
graduate beginning of June. So
Okay.
the weather does get better in May, fortunately, here in Pittsburgh. So I have more dates in May available for those graduates
Smart.
who didn't get senior pictures taken for whatever reason or
Mm-hmm.
decided to do something else. So yeah,
Yeah.
that month is more open because most kids want them done after they end their junior year in our area.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Okay. That's great. Yeah, I think I also somehow get that like third wave. You know, you talked about your
Uh-huh.
first wave, second wave, but I do get a third wave and
Yes.
they are inquiring right now
Mhm.
about spring and I'm like, "Oh, here it goes." You know, I've got all these kids. And some of them I when it gets down to the nitty-gritty, yes, I do have to turn around and say, "I'm so sorry. LMCP is full," but I like capturing a couple of those seniors towards the end of the season. But what you're doing is you're not only creating buzz,
Mhm.
you're also creating work-life balance.
Mhm.
And that is a beautiful thing that I think a lot of entrepreneurs really don't focus on enough. And maybe it's because, once we have been in business for a certain amount of time, we start to feel that pull. But if you're a newer photographer and you're watching or listening, I think it's so important to strike that work-life balance and set boundaries. So you're
Yeah.
setting boundaries, which is
Yeah,
beautiful.
I have a paper calendar and I circle the days that I want to work. I block off vacation, or days that I can't work, um, and go from there. But I also even take it another step further. And I strategically place my senior boys in my calendar because they don't require a hair and makeup appointment. So
Yes.
if it's coming up on my vacation, I put that as a senior boy spot because they're easier to move forward or backwards. Their nails aren't done. Their hair, isn't,
Yep.
doesn't have to be colored. They can get a quick haircut. So I even strategically place boys in my calendar.
I do that as well. I also do headshots, but I
Mhm.
strategically place men or if for headshots or boys in my senior boys in my calendar because after a senior boy session, I'm like, oh, this was so easy. My goodness. And I love shooting with girls and I shoot
Yeah,
80%, 85% of my
same.
clientele are girls and I absolutely adore them. But after a senior boy session, I am just like, oh my gosh, maybe I should just start marketing towards more boys because oh my gosh, it's just a breeze. My next question for you is so when we were chatting at the table, you talked about your yearbooks at
Mhm.
your schools. So you guys get to do like most of your schools do a drape picture and one of your pictures
Correct.
right next to them. So they have a chance to do two pictures for each senior.
Correct.
No schools in my area do this.
No, this is very unique, and we have a pretty big school district. But then some of the schools now are just saying, just enter your casual photo instead of the drape picture or the suit picture.
Wow.
So there are some changes. But to supplement the cost of our yearbook, parents can buy a yearbook ad. So
Mm-hmm.
the quarter page ad is kind of small and is just one picture, but the half page ad can feature like 5 to 7 photos from their session. So I always say if you're from our township, you you need roughly like 3 to 7 photos, like three
Mm-hmm.
at the minimum. So it's nice because they can actually utilize these photos for more than just personal use.
That is incredible. I will say, I mean, I don't know how it came about. I don't know who in the district
Yeah.
decided this, what happened, but I want to talk to my school board and say, hey, these casual photos, they're a big thing now. I know
Yeah.
obviously that is extremely like selfish of me, but I think also kids don't want the drape and tux photos
No.
anymore. They don't care about them. And, when my girls graduated, they were like, this isn't me. I would never wear
Yeah.
something
I
like
don't even
that.
put it in the album. in the outfit
Mm-hmm.
design. It doesn't even go in the album. They get a
Yeah.
digital copy of it in their online gallery, but we don't even put it in the album.
Yeah. And
So,
so that's exact. I mean, same. I've never really had someone go, "Oh my gosh, this is my favorite picture of me." When I used to do drape photos, it's never their favorite. They're just like, "Okay, this is the one I need." I don't
yeah.
even do drape photos anymore because most of the schools that are around me are contracted with
Mhm.
a brand that does that type of photo.
Mhm.
Um, so my next question is, without talking about specific pricing or anything,
Mhm.
let's chat about what are your most popular products that you seem to sell and what are your clients gravitating towards?
Okay, so like everybody else, I started with package A, B, and C, and
Mm-hmm.
they were a bunch of things that weren't personalized. A 16 by 20. Well, what if they needed a 20 by 30 on their wall? Or, 5 8 by 10s. Well, I don't want that. So I quickly switched to a model that was like create your own package, and that worked a little bit better. But once I started really photographing seniors, they had 4 to 5 outfits. We were doing albums. So I established, with the lab, found the albums that I loved. I decorate with them. They're beautiful. I started selling 8 by 10 albums. So I have 3 sizes of albums. I offer a digital copy of every image that's featured in that album, and that's it. If you don't like the album, I have an image box option, but I'd say maybe 2% of my clients choose the image box, and it's usually parents of
Mm-hmm.
twins who want to be able to separate their images. Uh,
Yeah,
so the albums are just a big seller.
same.
And my base package, my 8 by 10 package, is the package that I'm really happy about. I'm really happy about that sales average.
Mm-hmm.
So I know like when they book with me, they get the pricing, they get the packages for the albums or the alternative image
Mm-hmm.
box, and they know right off the bat they're going to get, 40 to 50 pictures in that 8 by 10 album and a digital file of that. Most girls have like five to six outfits, or even boys, they bring their sports equipment or they bring their car. So we do have, generally 2 to 3 locations with multiple outfits. So we're going to fill up that album very quickly.
Yeah.
And the
Um,
nice
and,
thing, oh,
and
just real quick,
how my question is, how many spreads are in your album?
they are 15 spreads.
Okay, yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's great. Yeah, so it seems like I will also say albums are my most popular seller. And I think it's important that you said something that I think a lot of people miss, especially when they first start out or if they're struggling. You need to be happy with
Hmm.
that base package.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
If that base package is something that you would be depressed after a client walks out of an IPS session to have just
Uh-huh.
sold and go, oh man, I really wanted to sell this one, then that package is too low.
Hmm.
And I think that's important. You said something extremely smart there. So I want people to, really listen to Valerie's words of she's happy with that base package. If it sells, you're still happy with it. Everything else is cherry on top, right?
Uh-huh. And the client's
So,
really happy too, because oftentimes the kids like the pictures that are looking off or doing something else, but grandma wants a picture facing forward. So
yes,
with that amount of photos that I offer, because we all overshoot, they're happy because they're getting that Instagram picture that they also want. We're not having
yes,
to cut so many photos to get down to something, super small, like a 10 photo package.
yes. And
Mhm.
my next question is because everyone does things differently. Do you do an IPS session with like lightly edited images and then you after they order you go in and you fully edit or like it can also be raw, sometimes people just color
Mhm.
correct or whatever. Um or do you present fully edited images?
So I present color corrected images,
Okay.
and I do 100% IPS. From the day I
Okay.
started the business, it has been IPS.
Yeah.
So, but the nice thing is that they know what they're buying coming in. They're getting an album, and we're choosing photos for the album. So the IPS session is very, very fast. It's like an hour to an hour and a half. And we've already started designing the album in the process.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's very smart. The other question I have is, so you have that base package, and listen, when people have asked me about my packages and I don't have them in front of me,
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I'm like, I don't know. So you don't have to know from, start to finish what's in a package, but that second and top package, so that
Mhm.
middle package and top package, what is in those that people seem to gravitate towards?
It's just extra. It's a bigger album. So the 8 by
Okay.
10 is the smallest package, and smallest number of images. That 9 by 12 image album, I'm sorry, gives you more images and more
Okay.
threads. And then there's even an 11 by 14
Oh,
album, which is
great.
a wedding album.
Yeah.
But that will give you the most amount of images.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, great. Yeah. So that is I love this. I think simplifying packages. I also have started simplifying because something when I first started out and I went to like a big conference and I see WHCC and Miller's and all of these wonderful labs, I went cuckoo bananas crazy. I was like, I need this and that and
Uh-huh.
this and that. And it was like, I'm not a retail store. I'm just me. So
Mhm.
after a while, I said, okay, I'm selling 3 to 5 things and that's it, besides, the gift prints. But
Mhm.
packages don't need to be complicated.
Yeah.
Simplifying is so important. And I also have found like, Canvas is not selling for me anymore. I
Mm-mm.
think because Canvas is widely available
Mhm.
on, non-professional markets. So if they are purchasing digitals, then they'll go and do that. And, it won't look great, but that's their prerogative. However, metal prints still sell for me, but it's albums 100% of the time.
Yes.
And when I noticed that, I started doing a hybrid session, and I just say, when you purchase with me, you pre-purchase or when you book with me, you pre-purchase an album, period. Um, but that being said, my my question for you is, so you're doing different sized albums.
Mhm.
Are you able to upcharge on? Do you ever add pages, spreads?
Yes,
When
I
you
can do that.
yes. Oh,
Mhm.
that's
I
good.
can I can add spreads for sure.
Yeah. Do you find that they're doing that?
Um, a few, not so
Okay.
much. 'Cause I feel like what I offer is it's a really good compromise. I'm happy with what I'm offering and they're happy with what
Yeah.
they're getting. They're
Oh,
not
that's
having to
good.
cut so many photos. So not very often do they have to add spreads, but they
Yeah.
can.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. So my next question is, so you said you roll out this schedule.
Mhm.
You've messaged the first wave, and then you've messaged the second wave, which is people that have inquired.
Mhm.
Um, do you have another way that you reach out to people that haven't inquired? Is there any, like, do you market through the schools in any way? Do you have any other marketing technique?
Yes. So, in the back of most of the yearbooks in our area, they have yearbook ads that businesses can buy. So, I always purchase for the school district that I'm in, but also a couple surrounding school districts. So,
Yeah.
I do that to support their school. And then I also just market on my website or Facebook that I do have spots available.
Okay, great. Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
find, where are you getting most of those? Do you feel like word of mouth, social media?
Word of mouth,
Yeah.
100%. Yep.
I think, this is so underrated. I do get plenty of inquiries on social media, but word of mouth is so powerful.
Mhm.
And who do you find is and we have Laura that joined us as a guest, and
On, yeah.
Tanya's on here. Yeah, we've got people coming in. So ladies, feel free to ask questions in the chat, and I am monitoring the chat. And Valerie, if I see something, I will, you don't
Okay.
have to worry about it. That way you can keep talking, and once I see a question, I'll just ask you at some point from these lovely ladies. So oh, I lost my train of thought because I saw
Oh, word of
them
mouth.
on. Oh
Yeah.
yes,
So
word of mouth.
definitely, I mean, that's just been my business model from the very beginning because when I started in 2010, yes, there was
Hmm.
Facebook, but my clients would see images on their neighbor's wall that I took. I did a
Yes.
lot of framing back then.
Yes.
But that was word of mouth. Now it's, if I get invited to a graduation party, I go and I
Yeah.
get introduced as the photographer. They display their albums and then they also print extra pictures to display.
Hmm.
So just doing that,
Yeah,
for
I
now,
love
because
that.
the experience that I provide um, really helps me with growing my business.
Hmm.
Um,
And
my clients are very happy.
this is kind of a softball question,
Okay.
but I feel like I know the answer, but I just want to ask this. Who are the people doing the word of mouth? The seniors or the parents?
I'd say both.
Really?
Yeah,
For me, it's
definitely.
parents 90%, seniors 10%.
Yeah, definitely both.
Okay, that's great.
Parents for sure. Um, but I recall last year two girls running into each other. One just had her session, the other one was coming up with me, and they were saying, "Oh." The one girl was saying, "Oh, I hate getting my picture taken. I'm so nervous. I don't know if I have the right outfits." And the other girl was like, "Oh my gosh, I felt the same way." But you know what? The session with Valerie was so easy, and she poses you. You don't have to worry about that. I'm sure your outfits are going to be fine. Don't worry.
Oh, that's so
Yeah.
cute. I love that.
Now,
Yeah.
question, Valerie, real quick,
Mhm.
if I can interject. So after the sale, and excuse me if you said it because I did run away, I've been having coughing
Okay.
fits. Do you put things up into a client gallery for them to buy after the fact? Or if you do, what company do you use? And if not, that's fine. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I've used Pass Gallery and Store since I started, and they have a great print store now. So we upload their high resolution images, and I let them print prints, canvases, and metals from there. Um, and then I select White House as my supplier for those prints.
Yeah, we love White
Okay,
House.
great.
We're big White House
Yes.
pro DPI over here.
Yep.
Hmm.
Ladies, if you have
Um,
questions, Laura, Tanya, type it in the chat. Lacey and I are both monitoring it.
mhm.
It's wrapping up here with Valerie. We've got about 10 more minutes. Valerie, was there
Yeah.
something like
Yeah,
it?
there's something I want to talk about real
Yes.
quick. And that is, this is another show and tell. So to make life easier, because we have multiple ways to post information. We've got our Instagram, we've got website, we've got email chains. You can text, you can Pinterest, you could do it all. But I've kept things just so simple and like organic. So I think of that luxury experience again. Neiman Marcus still prints a catalog. So here are 7 years of
Oh,
magazine.
Oh, I
wow.
love that. Yes.
So this is designed through Fundy. You could also design it in Canva. But for Fundy, they fulfill through Miller's, I think, and
Mhm.
Graphy.
Yes.
So this will be my eighth magazine. So after you book a session with me, I send you this magazine. This includes everything. So locations, like if they're like, oh my gosh, I need to go to that fountain or that gate or that flower garden, it's in there. So
Hmm.
they could just say to me, "Oh, I want to go where Amy went for her photos."
Hmm.
It also includes the style guide, so what to wear guide. So there's 2 pages for girls, so like 8 different categories of outfits. So I always say choose 4 to 5 outfits from each category, or 4 to 5 outfits, but make sure they're in a different category. So
Hmm.
they're not choose like or boys more so than girls, but a boy's not choosing the same shirt in 3 different colors.
Yes. Yes.
So there's also then I have a spread for boys. I also include like a checklist that's just printed. I mean, oh, the magazine cost me less than $9 to print. So, and then I mail it. It
Yeah.
costs like I don't know, $3 to mail. So, but
Those fundy magazines are great.
yeah,
They're easy. If you have fundy, try it out. They're so
yeah,
easy, plug and play. I love it.
yeah. But it
What
has saved
categories do
me.
you use for the styling?
So girls, I use like a classic dress, a flirty dress, boho, vintage, glam. So some girls have worn their prom dress or
Hmm.
something really, fun and luxe. Yeah, so those are some of the categories. For boys, I have, sports equipment, suits, bring your car. Um, hoodie, a
Yeah.
three-quarter zip up t-shirt,
Perfect.
the
Yeah.
real
That
basic.
was a question from
Yeah.
Laura. She was asking what kind of categories do you
Okay.
have? And I think that's great. I think it's important, for those of us that do send out a style guide, whether it is digital or printed, but I do think printed, it's coming back.
Mhm.
We went digital for a while, but I think having something tangible in your hands really does make a difference in your business. And it strikes your clients as a luxury business when you have
Yeah.
something tangible that you send to them.
Mhm.
And it is good to have visual references for them.
Yeah.
And with so many things being digital, when we send a digital, and I send digitals, I understand that. But if you just have one thing that you decide to print, I think it's really important to print that welcome guide or a
Right.
guide that just walks them through. So they have a visual reference to point to and say, I like this location or
Mhm.
I like this vibe. It's so smart. I love that. And yeah, you said it's only $9 to print.
Yep.
Yeah, that's incredible. Highly recommend Fundy. Do you do your albums on Fundy as
I
well?
do.
I
Yes.
do too.
That was life-changing.
Absolutely.
Remember the clipping masks?
Oh, I
Oh,
remember album templates, dragging them into Photoshop and everything. Um, my other question that Laura has is, do you mail these immediately after they book with you?
okay, so most of my clients will book this Friday. Um,
Mm-hmm.
my magazine is done. I just printed a sample copy. I just make sure because I do make a few changes every year. For the most
Mm-hmm.
part, the layout is the same. I just check my grammar and everything, and then I print it. I'll print it next week. I usually mail it out because I don't want it to get lost. Because most
Mm-hmm.
most of these sessions don't take place until June, starting in June. So I mail it out usually end of April because then they'll start shopping for clothes and everything towards the end of their junior year.
Mm-hmm. So
So,
I
but it's
think
pretty much
the
ready to
reason,
go.
yeah, I think the reason this works so well is because of your schedule. You send them all out around the same time.
Hmm.
And so for those of you that are listening that don't do this scheduling, I think if you're looking at mailing it out, you just have to have a really solid workflow in place. Because that's why I stopped mailing it out and doing digitals because I don't do a release um like you do. And I was like, oh my gosh, now another person booked. I need to go again. So I was getting just like, oh, this is too much. But now I specifically, because I started mailing them out again last year, there is on my route. I just take a new route. I dump them all in the thing and then on my way. Because now it's easy to print USPS labels from home.
Yes.
It wasn't always like that. So you can print all of them, send them out on your way home, stop by a post office box and go from there.
Yeah.
um
It's just another way increase the word of mouth and your exposure because I can't tell you how many people have seen this magazine on someone's kitchen table or coffee table and say, "What is that?"
mhm. do you
So,
do you do uh a refresh of the photos so it's girls that are more familiar, like, oh my gosh, she graduated last year?
I refresh it every year.
Yeah, that's what I do
Refresh.
as well.
Yep. I re
Yeah.
every so this from December until now, I've been refreshing that and selecting images for my website. I do
Mhm. and
all of
and it's
that
a
now.
big deal to get into this magazine for my girls.
Mhm.
Oh
That
yeah,
is something that is really important. And the girl that gets the cover,
I know.
that's a big deal. That's a really big deal. So make it a thing. In the past, I did a voting um, of like who gets the cover. I
Uh-huh.
don't do that anymore
I don't
because I
either.
didn't I didn't want it to become a popularity contest. So
I
now
do.
during the session, I'm like, oh my gosh, I think this will make the magazine. Now, what they don't know is every single senior does get a photo in the magazine.
Mhm.
But I'm like, oh my gosh, this is such a good look. I think this is going to go in next year's magazine. They're like, so,
Talk about a
you know,
confidence boost.
Yeah, it's a huge confidence boost. And how many pages are typically in your magazine?
Um, there are about, yeah, 15 spreads. So yeah,
Okay.
about 30 pages.
Yeah,
I
30
keep
pages.
adding
That's
more because
I
there's just
know.
more to say every year, you know.
Yep.
It's
I know.
a
When I
challenge to find something new to add, a question that came up, and you're like, oh, I can answer that in my magazine. So
yep.
I try to have all of my clients' questions answered before they have them. Yeah,
Yeah,
especially
when I
magazine.
first started, I think my magazine was like 20 pages and now it's like 50. And that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
So I know we're wrapping up here. We have a few more minutes. Vickie, I know if you have any questions as well.
No, I've just been going back and forth coughing, but Valerie, I believe that sending out the magazine is key because you are
Mhm.
promoting a luxury brand. And like we've discussed, we love our restoration hardware catalogs when they all come.
Huh?
I love
Mhm.
my Crate and Barrel catalogs. It just, you go back to it. You don't throw it away. You just go back to it for ideas and things. So it's top of the mind awareness in your marketing.
Mhm.
And I love that you're doing that because not everybody's doing that. And and that was one of the things that stood out when we met you at the retreat.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the kids that are in the magazine, they're never going to throw it away. Those
No,
families are never going to throw that away.
Yeah.
That's going on the bookshelf.
Yes.
You know,
I'm guilty. I'm guilty. My kid was in my daughter in her acceptance packet. My son's graduation photo was in the college's acceptance. They did a whole spread, a full-page spread. I'm like, well, we're keeping that, you know.
yeah.
That's what they're doing with your magazine. It's going on the shelf. It's not going
Mhm.
away.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, that's important. So, before we wrap up, do you have potentially a word of advice to someone who is either starting out in the industry or looking to make a shift in their business? Maybe they're wanting to go towards luxury or IPS that you have for them.
I'd say keep things really simple as possible. Keep your pricing simple, your packages simple, be very upfront with your pricing and your cost.
Mm-hmm.
Over communicate, you know.
Oh, amen to
Answer
that.
the phone, answer the text when they call, answer email quickly. Just treat them like they're the only one you're working with at that point. And that's how you'll build a successful luxury feeling business.
That is,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's truly good advice. Communicate and be open with your pricing is so important in this business. I have found that, a lot of people, there was a wave where it was like, don't show how much people are going to spend. And I think that is a huge mistake because we are wanting to build trust within our communities.
Mhm.
And I think, if we are able to just put it all out there, you're going to find the clients for you, especially when you add value like you have to your business.
Mhm.
You're going to be able to create a sustainable business, a trustworthy business. Um, and that is, exactly how you create the, you know, um,
Yeah, the feeling.
empire that
Yeah,
you
the
want. You
luxury
know what I mean?
feeling.
Yes, yes. Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much, Valerie. You're amazing.
Oh, thank
I'm
you.
I'm so impressed by you and I want to go to my school board and try and get those casual photos into the
Yeah, I'm
yearbooks.
so lucky, right?
Yeah.
Valerie, I know that a lot of people are going to want to know where to catch the replay on this. Guys, it'll be on our YouTube at Senior Style Guide. It'll be in our podcast. And all these links will be posted in the Senior Style Guide group. If you're not following us at Senior Style Guide, please do so. Follow us on Instagram. Let us know who you want to see as our next guest because Valerie, we just adored having you. So thank you. Thank
Mhm.
you for sharing and giving such a fresh take on how you do your business.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you for having me. It was
Thank
fun.
you. Yeah, this
Yeah,
was
let me know
great.
if you have any questions or if anybody else, just send me a direct message or on my Instagram or Facebook. I'd be happy
Mhm.
to answer any questions and go into more detail about what I offer.
Awesome.
Yeah,
And if you want to
that's
follow
awesome.
her, it's Valerie Thomas Photography.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay,
Well,
thank you.
bye, you guys.
Bye. See you later.